Hey there, 7th grade Gray, Mr. Catlin here. I'm opening up the last page of your homework, lesson number 4 from Unit 3. And you got a big picture of a Ferris wheel there. And it says that it has a diameter of 80 meters. So that gives us some information to start with. On the picture, draw and label the diameter. All right, so we get to draw on the picture. Fun. So I'm going to draw from there to there. I'm going to label that as my diameter. And I'm going to say that it equals 80 meters. How far does a rider travel in one complete rotation around the Ferris wheel? Okay, so if a rider gets on down here at the bottom where they load, it would travel up and around, and it would stop again at the bottom and get off. So that blue line that I poorly traced represents what we call the circumference. And circumference is equal to pi times diameter, which in this case is 80. So our answer for this will simply be pi, which we type in as 3.14, and we multiply that by 80, which is the diameter of how far it is across the Ferris wheel. And we would expect that person to go 251.2 meters. So 251.2 meters. Pretty easy stuff there for number 1. Let's dive into number 2. Okay. Identify each measurement as the diameter, radius, or circumference of the circular object. Then estimate the other two measurements of the circle. Okay, so here's what I'm going to do for this one to kind of simplify things. I'm going to make a gigantic table over here. Not gigantic. I'm just going to make 3 columns. Okay, my 3 columns are going to be radius, diameter, and circumference. All right, and I've got A, B, C, D, E, F, G, and H. I've got all of those parts. So I'm going to kind of fill out this table for everything that they're mentioning over here. And before I do that, I'm going to think about the relationships that I know. I know that the constant between these two is 3.14. It is pi. I know that the relationship between these two is times 2 because the diameter is twice as big. So those relationships should help me figure out this table. So the length of the minute hand on a clock. Okay, so if you imagine a clock over here, the length of the minute hand would be another way to talk about the radius. So the radius is 5, which times 2 makes the diameter 10, and times 3.14, 31.4. See how easy that was for the first one? Check. Got that one out of the way. Let's move on to the next one. The distance across a sink drain is 3.8 centimeters. So sink drain is a circle. If you go across it, that's a diameter. So 3.8. Now, if multiplying by 2 gets you here from radius, dividing that in half brings you back. So if you need help with that, you can always use your calculator to divide or cut things in 2 if you're not good with decimals. 1.9 is our radius. And then, of course, to find the circumference, we got to do 3.8 times pi, which is 3 and 1400ths. We're going to use as our estimate. So 11.93 is what we'll write for that one. 11.93. All right, let's move on to C. B's done. New color. Let's go with the beautiful and the bold purple here. Tires on a mining truck are 14 feet tall. So here's a tire. Height would be another way to phrase the diameter. So this would be 14. Radius would be half of that. And to get my answer, I got to do for the circumference 14 times pi. So 14 times 3.14. 1 and more. Go. Yes. Okay. That's 43.96. So 43.96. All right. Next one, I'm going to use this lovely black color next for D, the fence around a circular pool. All right, so the fence around, that's coming out straight up telling you the circumference. So 75. So we got to work our way backwards now. And to come back, when you know the circumference, is to divide by pi. So we divide by pi, and that gives us 23.89. So 23.89. And I'm going to keep that number on my calculator. And to go back to radius, I would cut that in half, divided by 2. The answer divided by 2, and that's roughly 11.94. So 11.94. Moving on to E. Let's go back to the red color. The distance from the tip of a slice of pizza to the crust. So if this is pizza, you got to slice out from the tip to the crust would be just another version of the radius. So 7-inch radius, we've already done that one. That's 14 and 43.96. So we're going to do math for that. It's the same as C. All right, the breaking a cookie in half creates a straight side that's 10 centimeters long. So cutting a cookie in half, whoop, like this is just another way to phrase the diameter. So they're giving us the diameter for this one, and they're telling us that it's 10. So that matches the very first one that we did that had a radius of 5 and a circumference of 31.4. That's making this easier since we have repeats. That's good. All right, so G, the length of the metal rim around a glass lens is 190 millimeters. Around is the key word there to know that this is the circumference. So we need to divide the circumference to come back to diameter by pi. And that will give us our diameter, which is, drumroll, 60.51. 60.51. So 60.51. Take that number and divide it in 2, and we get 30.25. So 30.25. We could probably shave that 1 off, but we'll leave it on there. We just got some rounding. That's why it's not perfect. And lastly, we will do H. From the center to the edge of a DVD, center to edge, that's a radius. So 60 radius. Double that to get diameter. 60 times 2 is 120. So we just got to do 120 times pi. 120 times 3.14. Boom. 376.8. 376.8. And there you go. There's number 2. Well, that was a doozy. That had a lot of work in that one. Number 3. A half circle is joined to an equilateral triangle that has side lengths of 12 units. So 12, 12, 12. What is the perimeter of the resulting shape? This dotted line is not part of the perimeter. So this would be 12 plus 12, that's that side, plus that side, plus 1/2 of this circle's circumference. 1/2 of its circumference. Now, if we talk about this circle here, its diameter is 12, so its circumference would simply be 12 times pi, because we know that's the constant of proportionality. So let's do 12 times pi. 12, not 11. 12 times pi is equivalent to roughly 37.68. But we don't want a full circumference. This only goes halfway around. So we want to take that and divide it by 2. So really the half circumference here is 1884. So 18.84, because the full circumference was 37.68. So you see that I took half of that to get the 18.84, and then we have to add 24, which is there's some to it. So let's go ahead and add 24. And that gives us a total of 42.84. So 42 and 84 hundredths. And we're just going to say units for the perimeter of that shape. All right, moving on. Circle A has a diameter of 1 foot. All right, so circle A, diameter 1 foot. There you go. Circle B has a circumference of 1 meter. All right, so circumference C equals 1 meter. Which circle is bigger? Ooh. So we got to do some converting here. We got to get inches and feet to the same comparable measurement. This is a tough little doozy. So let's start with the 1 foot. Actually, let's change the meters into the equivalent in centimeters. Let's do that. So let's get meters into feet. Let's do that. So meter, feet. 1 meter is how many feet? Well, if you don't know that conversion, this is where the internet can be your friend. Okay, meters to feet. Let's see what they give us. All right, see that big long number there? That's our equivalent. So let's put that in as 3.28084. 28084. 3.28084. Double check that. 28084. 28084. 28084. Okay, so we got our conversion there. Now, if I have 3.28084 in feet for my circumference, let's make another table here. Diameter to circumference. If that is 3.28084, then I could divide that by pi, and that will tell me what my diameter is in feet, and then it'll be comparable to A. All right? So let's divide that by pi. Now, looking at it, it looks like it's going to be more than 1 because 3.14 will go into that more than 1. So I'm feeling like C is a little bit bigger. Let's go ahead and do the math, though. 3.28084. Of course, missed the decimal. 3.28084 divided by pi is 1.045. So 1.045. So what's greater? It appears that B is larger slightly, right? And I think our reasoning here has been explained pretty easily with our conversions. So there you go. There's your help on your homework.